DreAllDay.com.
Philippe.
Philippe, all right. Cool.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, on the Philippe Matthews Show Live. I've got a major guest with me, known as Dre All Day. Dre Baldwin, calling all the way in from the East Coast. Now, I have to set it up. Now, everybody knows Dre All Day. The man is known as the YouTube basketball guru, written I don't know how many best-selling books, has over 100 athletic training programs, teaches individuals, corporations, clients all over the world. Okay, that's the formal introduction. My buddy Dre Baldwin. What's happening, man?
Philippe, what's going on, man? I'm feeling fantastic today. I hope all the listeners feeling the same, or at least we're going to help them feel that way once this is over.
Absolutely.
So let's see what we can do.
Absolutely. All right, so take me back a little bit, and also, ladies and gentlemen, this is my second interview from Starbucks. Dre is at Starbucks, and you're calling in from what? Miami?
Yeah, you saw the
Beach?
barista just walk by right there.
Could you order me a latte, please? I just want to have that on hand. So,
sure. What kind you like?
Talk to me about two concepts that you have developed, two brands that you have developed. Dre All Day and Work on Your Game. Where did those come from, and how did they develop?
There's another one. Well, where Dre All Day came from is, back in 2002, probably around that time. That's when the internet first really started coming about, and we started knowing about it. Everybody couldn't really access it too easily, but we knew that it existed. Mm-hmm. At that time, I was in college. I had a desktop computer that was super old and super slow. If I wanted to go to ESPN.com, for example, I would type in ESPN.com, hit enter, and then I would go take a nap. And hopefully by the time I came back, the website was up. So that's how slow that computer was. So back then, I've always been a person who writes up. Yeah, exactly. I know you do. And back then, I used to always be a person who wrote out my goals, like my next year goals. And around that time, someone suggested, hey, why don't you write out a 10-year goal? Write out your goals for the next 10 years. So one of my goals that I wrote down was to have my own website. Whether it be called DreBaldwin.com or something up to that effect about me. This website is going to be for me, about me, and by me. I didn't care if nobody read it or nobody cared what I had to say, but I knew I had something to say, and I wanted to put it out. And the internet was the thing. When I saw the internet, I was like, this is me. I got to be involved in this some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And that's how I had the idea of having my own website. And then 5 years later, in 2007, when I was finally ready to get a website, actually to go back, I started blogging in 2005. And this was when the blog sphere was not as big as it is, where there were only a few hundred people blogging actually back then at that time. Sure. So I started blogging in 2005, and then in 2007, I was ready to make it a full website, but I needed a name for it. And I knew DreBaldwin.com. It doesn't really ring off the tongue. I needed something that popped. Or if somebody heard it, they'd be like, oh, I get it. I like it. And I finally, the name Dre All Day just came to me one day. I registered the domain in 2007. And the rest is history as far as that became my website. It became my name. I made that name up. Nobody gave it to me. I made it up. And that's how Dre All Day came about. And as far as work on your game, that's a phrase that I used about 2 years later. I was making a video. I was in the gym. I was working out. And that's usually where my best ideas come, when I'm working out. When I'm in that flow, that mental state of flow. Sure. And I got an idea to basically respond to a lot of questions I've been getting at that time on YouTube from a lot of viewers asking me, like, Dre, how do I get better? How do I make the basketball team? Why do my teammates not respect me? Why does nobody give me the ball? What can I do? Can you give me some help? Can you give me some tips? Can you give me some advice? And I was getting pretty much different versions of the exact same question over and over and over again every day. So I made a video. It was right when I had finished the workout, and I said, you know what all you players' problem is that you're on YouTube watching me trying to get the answers to your problems when I'm not the key to your dreams. The key to your dreams is that you need to turn off the TV, get off the Xbox, stop standing on the corner with your friends, go to the gym and work on your game. And when you start doing that, everything's going to start working for you. And I wasn't even trying to make that into a phrase, work on your game. It's just what I said. It's just part of my conversation. And people caught that out of that 2, 3, 4 minute video, however long it was. That's the one thing everybody heard. They said, oh, work on your game. Work on your game. I like what you said there, Dre. And I added a colorful word to kind of paint that phrase in it that starts with an F and ends with a G. And that was part of the phrase too. So a lot of people caught that, and they just started repeating it back to me, like, work on your game, work on your game. So that kind of just became a slogan or catchphrase as such. And over the last 8, 7, 8 years has become a brand name. Work on your game.
Absolutely. Now, do you sell? Because I know, so like a lot of your photos, you have the cap, which I absolutely love. To work on your game. Do you sell the caps and the merchandise for that?
Yeah, it's on hoophandbook.com. HOOP handbook.com.
Excellent.
Limited quantities available. So
all right,
yes,
well, I'm gonna pick one up because that's gonna be my thing.
All right.
Now,
all right, definitely.
When did listen? This is absolutely crazy, and I'm so proud of you. I can't be more proud of you. It's like a son to me. It's like an internet like marketing son. 4,000 plus videos you've produced that has garnered over 100,000 subscribers and over 30 million views, ladies and gentlemen. 30 million views from his workout videos. And these videos, ladies and gentlemen, are not just him necessarily just working out. It's his philosophy. It's the lessons he's learned in life. It is lessons that you can adapt into your life, regardless of what area in life or business or practice you have. Talk to me, Dre, about how that began. And you do this every day. My goodness, how do you come up with all of it?
Well, the videos, I published my first YouTube video about 10 years ago, and it was actually just a video from a professional basketball exposure camp I had went to. And for those who don't know how professional sports works, an exposure camp is kind of like a job fair. So if you ever been to a job fair, you know how it is. You put on your suit, you print out your resumes, you go there, you talk to the decision makers, and you hand out your resume to people, exchange business cards, et cetera, et cetera. At a pro basketball exposure camp, it's the same thing, and all the prospects show up. And all the decision makers show up also to look at these prospects. The difference is instead of handing out resumes and shaking hands, we put on our sneakers and uniforms and we actually play our sport against each other while the decision makers observe and evaluate us. So I went to a professional basketball exposure camp in June of 2005. I played really well at this camp. We actually drove from Philadelphia to Orlando overnight in order to get there for the 9 a.m. start time on Saturday morning. We left Friday at 5 p.m. We made it right on time for the beginning of the camp and got out the car and started playing basketball after a 15, 19-hour drive, whatever it was. So anyway, at this camp, I played well. I got the video from that camp. It was on what we knew back then is what we called a VHS tape. And Philippe, I know you remember VHS.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. We're both aging ourselves right now. Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago. I mean, 10 years ago.
Man, Dre, I didn't know you were this old. My God, don't let the beard and all of this fool you. I'm in my 20s right now.
Exactly. So I had this game footage on a VHS tape, and I had played really well, so I wanted to keep track of this footage. And I knew over the next 10, 20, 50 years, something might happen to that VHS tape where it gets damaged and I can't watch it anymore. So I wanted to get it into a format that I could keep hold of over the years. So I knew digital was starting to be the thing. So I took that VHS to an audiovisual store, got to put on the CD, put the CD in my old desktop computer, transferred that to a digital file, and published that video to a brand new video site that I had heard about called YouTube.com. That was in August either 2005 or 2006. And I just put it there just for safekeeping. I didn't think anybody would watch it. Nobody knew my name. And remember, this was an exposure camp, so I was trying to get into the pros. I wasn't even a pro yet. So it wouldn't be any reason for anybody to watch that tape or care about what was on that tape.
Sure.
But what I came to find out a couple months later, I went to go just to check on the video, and there were comments on the video. People had watched it and left comments like, hey, you're a good player. Hey, where do you play? Who taught you how to play? What school do you go to? Who do you play for now? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Can you make a video about this topic, that topic? So it was a lot of people. What I came to find was that there are a lot of people out there who were interested in basketball, but they didn't have the information. They were looking for somebody who could give them the information. How can you get better? How do you practice? How can you play college ball? How can you go from the end of the bench to playing in college? How can you go from playing in college to playing in the pros? What are the steps that you need to take to actually develop some skill to work on your game, which I came to find that phrase. So I just started making videos as responses to what people were saying. Like, hey, this is how you work on your dribbling. This is how you practice jumping higher. This is how you work on playing defense. This is how you can work on your footwork. This is what you can do if you're having back problems when you play basketball every day. So I just started making videos as a response to what people were asking me, just feeding off the energy of the audience. And then around 2009, I got the idea that maybe I could try to take it a little bit more seriously. And the reason why was because in professional basketball, I was having a lot of ups and downs. It's kind of like if you ever hear someone talk about the path of success. A lot of people think it's just a straight line that goes straight up, but it's really not. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So at the time, I was having a lot of ups and downs in pro basketball, which meant, in a nutshell, some years I would get a playing contract to go play somewhere. Some years I would not get a contract, and I didn't have anywhere to go play. But I was still practicing every day, because when you're a professional athlete, you have no idea when that phone call is going to come. So if it could be September, you don't get the deal right. Maybe in December, some agent or coach will call you and say, hey, we need you to come play in our next game 3 days from now. Can you get on the airplane tomorrow morning? And you got to be ready, which means you have to work out every single day from September through December, not even knowing where your next check's coming from, when your next job is going to be, or if there will even be a next job.
Wow.
So that was part of me developing the discipline.
Profound. It's a great lesson in that.
Exactly. So while I had developed that discipline, I said to myself, listen, I'm going to the gym every day. I have a YouTube channel. Why not just record everything I'm doing every day and just put it on YouTube? It's just a simple idea. The thing was, I didn't think I had that many different ideas, because anybody who's been in their profession for 10 plus years, you know that a lot of days, a lot of the stuff that you're doing is the same stuff. It's repetitive every single day. So I couldn't make the same video 100 times. I had to come up with some new ideas. I can't put out the same video over and over and over again. I needed to have some new ideas. So I started writing down everything I knew about basketball. Like every drill I ever knew, every move I know how to do, everything I know about basketball, I just put a list. And I thought I had maybe 30 to 60 days worth of knowledge about basketball. This was in fall of 2009. It's now the fall of 2015. I have not missed a single day. I put out a video every single day. Either one video. Some days I was putting out up to 5 videos back before I got so saturated. But it's been anywhere between 1 and 5 videos every single day for the last 6 years inclusive. And it's, again, just going off the energy of the fans, just letting my ideas intermingle with each other. So idea number 1 and idea number 4, you combine them, and now you got idea number 5. So I've just been combining ideas, going off the energy of the audience, taking the questions, anything that I see in life. Everything is material. I actually heard one of my favorite author, Robert Greene, say that. He's put himself in the frame of mind that everything that happens to him in life is material for his books, for his blogs, for his videos.
I love that.
I think in the same way. So everything that happens to me, I use it as material for content that I put out. That's why I've been able to keep it going.
Incredible. Now, that is, how has this discipline improved you, even though that you were doing it to help improve others? How has it changed you? How has it improved you? Because to teach is to kind of learn twice, as they say. So I'm sure that as you started doing these videos and started creating the content and started thinking about it and practicing and going and working it out every day, that you probably have increased your athleticism 100-fold.
Well, of course, the game definitely improved, because if you do anything every single day, Exactly. As far as on the court, you do anything every single day for 10 years straight, you're going to get better at it by accident, even if you're not trying to. And if you're intentionally trying to get better at it, of course, you're going to get a whole lot better. So over this time, my YouTube career spanned my entire professional basketball career. So I'm practicing to get better, because I'm thinking about where's my next job going to be, who's the next player I have to outplay for my next playing position, who's the next team I got to play against so I can have a good game and keep my career going. So, of course, I was always getting better physically at my game. Mentally, it's also a challenge, because when you're going to work every day with no idea when's the next time, or if you're ever going to make money doing it again, and you still got to show up every day, that's a mental discipline. And you have to develop that mental, emotional, psychological muscle every single day to keep doing that. So I developed the mental and the physical exactly at the same time, because we all know that the mental tells the physical what to do. If you don't really feel physically up to something, but you had a mental motivation, you can find the energy just like that. So it's the exact same thing. The way I had developed the physical, I also had to develop the mental at the same time, and I shared it with my audience as I went through the journey. I didn't wait till it was over and then talk about it. I shared it as it was going on.
Wow. And that's the beautiful part of it, that your authenticity comes through in droves. So people know that this is not a sales job. It's not BS. This is your life. This is who you be. And that's what really comes across. And that's what I commend you on.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now you started playing in Penn State, right?
Penn State Altoona, yes.
And you started playing overseas for I think what, like 9 years or something like that.
That's correct. Yes.
How was it? How does it differ? Professional basketball differ overseas than it does here in the States?
Well, as far as you mean, like with the NBA or with college?
With college.
Well, from college basketball, a lot of athletes who play in college or players who watch college basketball, or they might have friends who play college basketball, they think that because you played in college or because you played against somebody who played in college or you played well at the local LA Fitness or the YMCA, they think they can go play professional basketball. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Like professional basketball is professional. Like, and a lot of people don't understand. They think overseas is like easy compared to what they see in the NBA. So they see a guy in the NBA, they say, okay, maybe I can't play here, but I can go overseas and do my thing. Overseas basketball in some ways can be harder than playing in the NBA because of the fact, or in college. It's definitely harder playing in college because of the fact that when you play professional basketball as an American playing abroad, everyone in that gym is looking at you to be the superstar. Many times you might be the only player on that team who's not from that country or the only American on the team because basketball is an American sport. They're expecting you to be the man just because you're from America. You know, just because you're from America, you're expected to score the points or grab the rebounds or not miss any shots or nobody's supposed to score on you. You're supposed to be the example player. That's the best way to explain it. You should be setting the example for everybody else on that team, no matter how much experience you have or don't have, where you're from, what you've done. You are supposed to set the standard for everybody else in the gym. And if you're not doing that, they get rid of you. And they'll get rid of you very quickly. There's no trial period. It's not a 90-day probationary. It can be one day. If you're not good, they'll get rid of you that quick. And a lot of players in the States who haven't been over there, they think it's easy to just go over there. I hear from players who are in high school, they say, well, Dre, you know, I don't really like schoolwork, so I want to skip college and just go play overseas. How do I do that? And I tell them, you can't. You're not good enough. You don't have the skills to play overseas. Because if you did, then there'd be overseas teams contacting you right now. Since nobody is, you need to go play in college because you need 4 years of development in order to possibly be good enough to play in the pros.
And then there's
a lot
no
of players
guarantee.
don't. Exactly. And a lot of players don't want to hear that, but they need to hear it. Because, like I said, if you were good enough to go do it, you'd be doing it already. You would have to ask how to do it. They'd be coming to you. So that 4 years of college development, you need that to learn how to conduct yourself as an adult, first of all. Second of all, how to handle yourself by yourself in another environment in which you don't have a fallback like your parents to call on. And third, to actually have the skills to perform. This is a professional. This is a professional. It's not working at McDonald's. This is a profession, and you go on against guys who depend on that job to feed their children. You just walking off a college campus, you don't really have nothing to lose. You're not playing for, you don't have anybody to support, but you're playing against guys who've been doing this for 5-10 years. If they don't get this job, they can't eat. So you think you're just going to walk in the gym and take their job? It's not going to happen. So a lot of players just need that reality check that you do actually have to have some skills. Just talking about it is not enough. You got to have some skills, and you got to be able to get the job and keep the job on top of that.
Well, you're saying not just the skills, but what I'm hearing also is that there is a mental discipline that is hard as nails that you have to have. And depending upon what side you're on, that mental discipline is not really pretty sometimes in terms of the decisions that you have to make, because you're right, you're dealing with people's lives and livelihood, and that's not anything to play around with. Give me some examples of what you kind of went through growing up in that, or should I say coming up in that, and being able to survive, because you know, I look at you as like a Navy SEAL of basketball and mental discipline. No, seriously, because it's really, a lot of it is the same thing in terms of the discipline, because you have to be tough as nails. But you know, there's a process that you have to go through. You don't start out that way. You end up that way and become that way.
Right.
What were some of the things that you went through that were like major wake-up calls to you that said, hey, I have to mentally come up with my game as well as my to match my physicality?
Absolutely. Well, one thing is that coming up playing in college, I dealt with coaches I had like 3 different coaches in college. So I dealt with coaches who liked to yell, coaches who didn't know what they were doing, coaches who were great. So I seen it all. I seen the whole gamut of it. Even coming up playing basketball, I dealt with coaches who were all different. They had all different ways, different styles of communication. And coming from a school that I went to, Penn State is a big school. The main campus is Division I, but the campus I went to was Division III, which is a smaller level of play.
Mm-hmm.
And at that school, no player had ever come out of that school and went to the pros. So in order for me to even get to that position, to even be able to play in the pros, took a whole lot of discipline, a whole lot of work. It took some skills, some luck, some talent, and I had to be mentally tough in order to get to that position because I didn't have anybody to look at as a model. I couldn't look at this guy and say, all right, hey, tell me everything you did to get from here to there because nobody had done it. I had to blaze the trail for somebody else to follow. Exactly. So I had to be the first one to actually go and do it. So I went and made that happen. As far as what you're saying and playing in the pros, man, I've seen it all. I've seen coaches make players cry at halftime of a game just from yelling at them. I've seen players quit. I've seen players walking in. I've seen players get in fights. I've seen all types of stuff, especially in practices. Over there, they practice usually more than they do in the States. Here in the United States, if you look at professional basketball, they have so many games. There's not a lot of time for practice. But over there, over the same period of time, that same 6 to 8 month period of time, instead of playing 80 games, you're talking 20 to 30 games or maybe 40 games at the most. This means a whole lot of time for practice. This means in Montenegro, for example, we practice 10 times for every one game. Twice every day, Monday through Friday. There'd be a game on Saturday. And if we did well in the game, we would get off on Sunday. But if the coach didn't like how we played, we practice on Sunday too. And this was every single week. And this is just going. And understand this is the pros. It's not college. You had to bring it because in the pros, there's somebody else. Like, for example, it's 10,000 players playing professional basketball actively right now. And there are about 100,000 who don't have a job who want one. So if you're one of the 10,000 who have one, and you're not bringing it every day, they can easily replace you with somebody else who wants the job. Whereas in college, you got 15 guys on the roster. Usually not that many other people just walking around the campus who seriously want to be on the basketball team. They might like basketball, but they don't want to practice every day. So it's not really that many people ready to take your job in college. So you can kind of get a little bit more comfortable. In the pros, you can lose your job in one day. You can lose your job over a bad practice, let alone a bad game.
Wow.
So you got to bring it every single day on top of the fact that you're the American or one of the 2, 3, 4, 5 Americans on the team. Everybody's looking at you like you're some kind of superstar just because you're from the United States. You got to be that person every single day. And if you're not delivering, they'll find somebody else who can, or at least somebody else they think who can. Because obviously you can't. So they just going to find somebody else until they find the right guy.
Wow.
So that is on you every single day. Not to mention off the court, you got to stay disciplined. Don't get too caught up in the distractions, especially when you're in a town where you're one of only a few Americans or the only American. I was the only American on several teams. Everybody in the town knows who you are. Everybody knows who you are, who you work for, where you're from, everything about your background, and everything you do, somebody's watching because everybody knows who you are. So you can't blend into a crowd when you're the only 6'4" black guy walking around Lithuania. Everybody knows you. So whatever you do is going to be, if you do something crazy, it's going to be on the front page of the news just because it's unique. You're the only guy doing it.
Sure.
So you had to be disciplined both on the court and off the court, and you got to bring it every day physically and mentally.
Speak to me on this because now what you're saying is something that I think people really need to hear. And this, again, translates not just into basketball. This translates in anything you want to be a top in the game in your life.
Right.
Talk to me about family and friends and social. Because here you are. So, again, I'm going to use the analogy of military. You are a Navy SEAL. You are at the top of your game, top of your training. And now your mind has shifted. Your mind has changed, obviously. How do you assimilate back into the family in terms of some sense of normal? And then how do you also assimilate with friends and people who are close to you? Because every aspect of your life has to match and support that mind. Talk to me about that.
Well, as far as family goes, that's where my discipline base came from. It came from, sometimes I hear people when they're talking to parents. I'm not a parent. When I hear people talking to parents, they say, listen, your kids are not going to do everything that you say, but they're going to do everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at my parents as an adult, you know, I see that I'm highly disciplined. Discipline is like one of my number one personality traits. And I had to look back to my parents and seeing them every day, waking up every day, going to work. Rain, snow, sleet, hail. You know, I'm from Philadelphia, so we had the seasons. We don't have the seasons down here in Miami Beach, but we got the seasons in Philadelphia.
Right. I'm from Chicago, so I know about those seasons.
Exactly. So I watched them get up every day and go to work, even when they didn't feel like it. Even if they didn't like their jobs, even if they were sick, even if they had a bad day the day before, or they had a bad day that day, or there were all kind of things going on mentally, they knew they had to get up and go to work because they had kids to support. Even though they never sat us down and said, "Hey, son, listen to us, and let me explain to you exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it." They never had that conversation. But I saw them do it every day. So when I became an adult, subconsciously, the only thing I knew to do was what I had been seen done all the time through my life, what was demonstrated to me, what was modeled to me by my parents. So that's where the discipline came from. But as far as getting into the pros, I mean, my mom thought I was crazy when I told her I wanted to be a professional basketball player. She's a teacher. My mother's an educator. She had my sister and I reading books at a very young age. She stressed education. She stressed getting good grades. She stressed graduate from high school, go to college, get a degree, get a good job. So when I got out of college and I told her I wanted to be a professional basketball player, she was like, "What? You want to be a what? What are you talking about? You got a degree. You got a business degree from Penn State University. Why do you want to be a basketball player? Go get yourself a job. Go get yourself a car." I had braids at the time. She's like, "Go get yourself a haircut. Go get a suit." You know, go get a suit. You know,
that's
dress
a good
yourself
mom.
up.
That's a mom. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So she comes from the traditional background. You know, school, job. You know, get yourself a nice place, get a car. You know, live happily ever after, get a raise, and then go to the next level. And just do that for the next 40 years, and then retire. I didn't want to do that. I knew probably halfway through college that wasn't my path. I knew halfway through college that the professors in those classrooms couldn't teach me anything about where I was going because I knew the internet was going to be part of my future. I knew basketball was going to be part of my future. So what is this guy, this college professor, you know, who works at a university in a bad suit going to teach me about any of that? He can't teach me anything. So I just knew that I wanted to graduate because I started it. I said I might as well graduate. Plus I needed to stay eligible so I could play basketball.
Right.
I knew I wanted to finish school just so I could get that degree and get those last couple years of basketball season because I needed them in order to become a pro. I wasn't good enough to be a pro at age 18. I was good enough by age 23. So as far as family goes, what you're saying, once I got into the pros, you know, I really had to be my own support system because coming from where I came from, I sat at the end of the bench in high school. So nobody even thought I was going to play college, let alone the pros. So there was nobody around me who said, "Oh, wow, Dre, I see what you're doing in basketball. You're the guy. Like, you're the next Michael Jordan. You're going to be the man in basketball." Nobody saw a future in basketball for me. I had to see that. I had to run off my own energy kind of until I got to the point where I had so much of a track record where people could look at it and say, "Oh, wow, Dre, congratulations on all your success." And yeah, after the fact that I had it. Nobody saw it coming for me before I got it. So as far as family, none of them thought that. None of them were like negative and said you can't do it, but none of them believed I could do it until I did it. As far as my friends, it's kind of like Jim Rohn. He actually passed away a few weeks ago, and he always talked about the circle of five. Like you're going to become the average of the five people you spend the most time with. So when I wanted to become a pro in basketball, I started hanging with guys who were at that level, guys who were just as good, if not better than me in basketball, who wanted to go pro. The people I was around who didn't want that or weren't that type of guy, I had to get away from them. Subconsciously, I just slowly moved away from those people because they weren't going where I wanted to go. And even then, sometimes players and young people come to me, even older people come to me and they say, you know, I don't have people around me who are that positive. My family's not that positive. My friends are losers. How do I get 5 people around me who are successful so I can make myself more successful? And you can do that by proxy. So you can do that by watching, you know, motivational videos online. You can watch Dre Baldwin on YouTube. You can read books of a Jim Rohn, a Napoleon Hill, a Zig Ziglar, a Tony Robbins. You can make those people the 5 people you associate with most by immersing yourself in their teachings, the stuff that they write, the stuff that they recorded, the stuff that they talk about every single day. So instead of hanging around your friends for an hour, listen to some personal development for an hour. So stand on the corner for all afternoon, go read a book all afternoon. Now you're hanging with the author of that book instead of hanging with your friends. So me personally, if I don't have people physically around me who are all at a higher level than me, then instead of having 4 people who are lesser than me, I replace those people with books, with audio tapes, with personal development, or trying my hardest to get around those type of people, finding those people, seeking and finding those people so that I can be in their circle.
I did the exact same thing because I came from abject poverty and Chicago, and parents had died. And I found, as a matter of fact, I just wrote the book last year called My Forefathers. I found 4 cats virtually who became, I just designated as my virtual fathers. Zig Ziglar being one of them, or lately Zig Ziglar now. And you're absolutely right. That is a message that I really want to resonate and get out, because that is something that kids and adults too need to know, that the people that you are around don't have to be people you necessarily touch. They can be in, like you said, by proxy. They could be books, they could be audio, they could be video, they could be anywhere, but they can be in your space and a part of your life and become like surrogate fathers, surrogate uncles, surrogate sisters, whatever it is that you're needing and longing for. Those surrogate mentors are amazing. I commend you for being able to do that, because you're kind of one of the first cats, young cats, that has done that and has done it so successfully.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I had to get a credit to the people that I read, the people that I watch. Almost everything I say comes from an idea that I got from reading a book or listening to somebody who went through it before me. So I didn't make most of this up. It's just my interpretation of it, you know.
One of your videos, quite a few, but I can't go through all of them. So I just picked out a few. One of your videos, I think it's one of your recent videos, that really spoke to me, and that was, your past does not equal your future.
Yeah.
I thought that was incredibly powerful as you were telling the story about, saying, I'm just about to give up on basketball. I'm not quite sure, but I'm gonna give it another shot. And sure enough, you did, and you did not allow those previous 3 years to dictate what your future is going to be. Walk us through that story and kind of bring it home for listeners who are struggling with whatever it is they're struggling with right now. That is a part of their path, but they can't see it.
Well, it's a great question, Philippe. You know, that philosophy actually came from Tony Robbins. He's the first person I heard say it. I'm sure he didn't make it up. He got it from somebody else who got it from somebody else.
Sure.
But I heard Tony say it. Your past doesn't equal your future. Because a lot of times people stop themselves. They're like, all right, well, I want to start this business. I want to be great in this business. I want to make this much money, and I want to be in this position in the business world. But the first thought that people have usually once they say something like that is their subconscious mind it shoots into action and starts giving them feedback of everything they've been feeding their subconscious mind leading up to that moment, which is the last 10, 20, 30 years. And all it's going to tell them is what you've been telling yourself every single day for the last 30 years, which is that negativity. Oh, well, you haven't done it yet. You've been in this business for 5 years. You haven't done anything yet. Why do you think you're going to do it now? Or nobody's believed in you before. Why do you think anybody's going to believe in you now? So that negative self-talk that we have going on in our head constantly, that defeats more people than anything that happens to anyone externally. So the thing with the story that you asked about, that was playing basketball. Went to high school, tried out for the basketball team. We didn't have a JV. We only had one team, varsity team. Tried out in 9th grade, didn't come close to making the team. 10th grade, I think I was a little bit better, but again, I didn't come close to making the team. 11th grade was the year. 11th grade was the year I was like, this is my year. I read, Michael Jordan's story, and Michael Jordan didn't make it his first 2 years, so I'm still on track to be Michael Jordan. So I can make it this year, and I'll be on the Michael Jordan path. Tried out for the basketball team. That was my worst tryout, was the third one. I played worse at the third one than I did the first two. So I didn't make the team that year. I didn't touch a basketball for about a week because I didn't know. I wouldn't say I was depressed. I wasn't depressed, but I didn't know what to think. Because at that time, I was just trying to reconstruct myself mentally because I'm like, all right, well, I guess basketball is not going to be part of my life. Because at that point, all I thought I could do, only thing I wanted to do in life was be a basketball player. I didn't know how, when, where, who, but I knew I wanted to play basketball. But after I didn't make the team again, I'm like, man, maybe basketball is not going to work out. So for about a week, I was just trying to reconstruct myself and paint a new picture in my head of who I could be as a person that didn't have to do with playing basketball, because obviously basketball wasn't it. So I went for a whole week trying to figure this out, and I really couldn't find a picture to replace that picture. I still was getting this vision of basketball, even though I had all these failures back to back to back. And then about a week or two after that, in my neighborhood, the local basketball team at the playground said, hey, we're having tryouts for this team. Dre, you should come try out for this basketball team. I said, cool, I'll come try out for that team. Maybe I can at least make that team since I didn't make the team in my school. I made that team. It was the first time I was ever on a team where I was actually depended on to be one of the best players. The coach was looking at me as one of the leaders, one of the top performers, and I actually did perform when I was called on to perform. So my confidence shot up more from playing in that league than it did playing at school. Even in my senior year when I did make the team. So my confidence went way up. You know, and from there, the next year at high school, I did actually make the team. I only scored like 20 points the whole season as a senior in high school. So it's not like I shook the world up or anything. I wasn't being recruited by any colleges. I wasn't on the cover of any newspapers. Nobody interviewed me. I had no scholarship offers. My confidence was sky high at that point because of the success that I had already had and the fact that I had finally made the team. As long as I made the team, I knew I had something. I didn't really have a game experience or the confidence, but I knew that by the time I got to college, I would be able to actually show my skills. Because in high school, I just didn't. People knew me as a player who kept getting cut, so I didn't really have a respect level from those guys. When I went to college, where nobody knew me, I could recreate myself as whoever I wanted to be. It's kind of like, you know, they teach salespeople when you make a cold call to somebody, you can be whoever you want to be. You can be Donald Trump on a cold call, even though you might be the worst salesperson in the office.
Sure.
They don't know the difference. They just know what you're showing.
Right.
So it was the same thing for me. So the story about the past not equaling the future, I just got to the point where I said, nothing that happened in my past has determined what happens for me next. I can create a brand new beginning right now. And another thing that Tony says, you know, change for people is not something that happens gradually. Change doesn't happen over the course of a week or a year or 5 years. Change happens in a moment, happens in an instant when somebody decides that whatever has happened before is not going to happen anymore, and everything is different from that moment on. When somebody makes an actual decision, not a want, not a suggestion, not a preference, but an actual decision that is actually going to happen, everything changes at that moment.
Talk to me about the Dre Baldwin Experience. I am an entrepreneur, an executive. I am a salesperson. I am a potential blogger. I am a corporation that has a team that needs to get kicked in the ass. What can I experience from the Dre Baldwin Experience? How do you work with people?
If I'm working with an individual, the first thing I want to find out is what's their goal. I mean, any business, if you want to hire somebody, first of all, you need to know what you're hiring them for. What exactly do you want to get out of this interaction, or out of this transaction, out of our communication? So if an entrepreneur is trying to build up their brand name, what my expertise is helping people build their brand name, getting their marketing messages heard through building brand awareness. So I want to find out what it is you want to do with your brand. Where are you right now? Where do you want to go? What results do you want to get? And then I'm going to look at what you have and tell you exactly what needs to be changed and coach you on actually making those changes. So if I'm talking to an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, someone who runs their own business and the entire business, they're all the quote unquote talent in the business, they want to get their brand name heard. First thing you need to find out is what space do you occupy out there that no one else can occupy. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be one thing. For example, if I came out and said, hey, I'm a basketball player, am I unique? No, I'm not unique, because there's 1,000 people who play basketball, and the consensus opinion of most people in America is that in the world is that I'm not the best. You know, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Stephen Curry, they're all more known for basketball than I am. But if I say basketball and then I add in blogging, now I've narrowed that market down to only a few select people, and I'm one of them. Now, if I add in YouTube videos, now I don't think there's any competition. I think I'm the only one left. So if you take a basketball player who blogs and makes YouTube videos every single day, there's only one answer. It's Dre Baldwin. So anybody who's running a business, first of all, you need to figure out what space you occupy. And it can be an intersection of multiple things. It doesn't have to be one thing. Once you figured out what space you occupy, you have to be able to create content that lets people know that you occupy that space without having to so much come out and say it. So, for example, when I wanted to occupy that space of basketball, blogging, and YouTube, what did I do? I played basketball, I blogged, and I made YouTube videos. And I just kept doing it so much that eventually it gets to the point where somebody looks at my credentials, they say, oh, 9 years pro basketball, 30 million views on YouTube, 4,000 blog posts. They're like, wow, I don't think I've ever heard of anyone who's ever done that. Exactly. So now I own that space without even actually having to say it to you, because it's obvious, it's self-evident.
Sure.
So it's the same thing with any business person. So if you're a plumber There are 1,000 plumbers out there. I look at a plumber as a commodity. Whichever one that can get here the soonest and has the lowest price, that's the one I'm going to hire. But if you're a plumber who, let's say you've been building brand awareness, let's say you're on Facebook or you're on LinkedIn and you're writing about what is it that got you into plumbing? Why are you a plumber? What do you get out of it? Why could people call you? What can a plumber do that most people don't know that a plumber can do? What skills do you bring to the table? And you make it entertaining, because usually people don't call a plumber unless there's some kind of problem. So if you can make me want to pay attention to what you're saying, even when I don't have a problem with my plumbing, then I'm being entertained by you. Now I'm being educated and entertained by you. And now when I need a plumber, you're the only person I think of, because you're already on my consciousness, because I'm seeing you every single day. I'm not looking at you as a commodity. It's the same thing if you look at real estate. Somebody who writes about somebody who has an established brand name in real estate, they might not always be talking about selling you a house, because how often does somebody buy a house? Not every day. Maybe once every 10 years, 20 years, maybe once in their lifetime. But if you're able to make it entertaining, you're talking about what your schedule is every day as far as being in real estate, what it is that you do for your clients that most people wouldn't understand, what goes into being in the real estate business that most people don't know from the outside looking in. And you're kind of educating, you're entertaining me at the same time. And you start talking about your philosophies that have made you successful in that business that have nothing to do with actual real estate, in a way that a casual observer, someone who doesn't care anything or know anything about real estate, can understand, be entertained by, and learn from. Now you're top of mind. Now when I think of real estate, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy I follow on Twitter. He writes good posts on LinkedIn. I like the video he made on YouTube, because he's talking about the mental side of the business that can apply to a basketball player. Even though I'm not in the real estate business, I'm not even in the market to buy a house. Now somebody asks me, do I know a real estate agent? Oh yeah, that guy. I watch him on YouTube every day. Look him up. He's pretty good. And I know he's accessible because he's online every day. So now you make yourself top of mind to people, even though you're not selling directly to them. People don't want to be sold to. People want to be entertained. They want to be informed. And if you're doing that every day, even before they need you, they'll call you when they do need you.
Wow. You are brilliant. You are brilliant, because we know some of the same people. We've read some of the same books. Many of the books that you've read, I've had these people on my show, and they're personal friends of mine.
Oh, yeah.
And you are brilliant. You got it. I mean, you are it. I want to put the SH in front, but it's a family show.
Thank you.
Give us, we did it in the beginning. Give people how they can get in contact with you, the best way that they can connect with you.
Best way to connect with me is through my personal website. That is dreallday.com. You can email me directly. It's dre@dreallday.com. My Twitter handle is dreallday. I'm on Instagram at Dre Baldwin. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Dre Baldwin. My YouTube channel, just type in my name, Dre Baldwin. You'll see the videos. What else is there? I think that's it. But if you look for me on any platform, just Google my name, Dre Baldwin. Everything I'm on, you'll see.
You are the man. You are not a myth, and you are a legend, a living legend. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much,
man. I really do. And can you come back on the show?
Absolutely, anytime.
Okay, man, because I just, it's so much that we could talk about. I just think you're absolutely amazing, and you're just a breath of fresh air. So thank you for being with me today.
Well, thank you, Philippe. Really appreciate you having me on. Love to do it again.
Absolutely.
Everybody out there, work on your game.
Work on your game, and get me up. Don't forget to get me a latte. All right, while you're there, get me a latte.
Oh, no doubt. There's no line right now either.
All right, Dre. Hold on. We're going to go away, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for checking out this video. Make sure you follow all my top content up here. Follow me on all your favorite social networks right over here, and make sure you are subscribed to catch all the new content I put on this channel every single day. Work on your game.